they did 4 covers for the book that are 4 original new covers, and that's how Mad Cave rolls. They want to repackage it, but they want to do it as if it's the first time anybody's seeing it. Sort of like Pop Kill, same
Yep.
way. And then we have retailer editions and everything. That's a whole nother animal. But for this one, it's just yeah, it's a. I'm really excited about it because I think it's a little different than anything anybody's been reading. It's not a superhero book. It is not. It is definitely not. It is an unshaven, foul mouthed, kind of rough guy and his partners kind of just taking out anybody that's out of line. It's a little, like I said, it's a little more hardcore than a lot of the stuff I do. But I think the people that buy it will really dig it.
Who chose a release date of August? Do you? I always often wondered that. Now the book comes out August 26th. August
Yeah,
26th.
yeah, man.
Okay, so who chooses that? Does the
So,
publisher choose
so
it, or do you do
Mad
it?
Cave chose that. I think you know, I think they just try. You know, they put out a certain amount of books a month, and I guess they just we waited until they felt it was the right gap to put it in because we do also have another Pop Kill series that comes later.
Oh,
So I mean, I think it's just their decision. You know, is August a good time? I have no idea. I mean, it's hot as hell, and maybe reading a book where there's a lot of ocean and water around, maybe that'll cool people off a little bit. You know, those kind of scheduling things are all out of my hands. They know what's going to sell and when it's going to sell. The good news is I got time to promote it now, and then I got a bunch of conventions before it comes out to talk about it and get the press out there. I mean, right now, you know, as far as on my end, I need people to go to the comic shops and say, hey, can you order that for me? Because as you know, 100 and something books come out a month, and more than that actually, a couple of hundred books. So unless it's ordered, there's some stores that don't even get the book unless a reader goes in there and says, "Hey, can you put those 3 issues aside for me when they come out?" Unfortunately, that happens a lot, and unfortunately, a lot of books I do are worth a lot of money because they didn't order them that high. So I'd rather more people read it and not worry about the collector. The collectability will be there with the alternate covers and the chase covers and shit like that. That'll be there. When we work in this business, we want people to read our books, so that's what's most important.
okay. Hey, John Voight from Awesome Geek Headquarters is here. John, if you could be so kind, Awesome Geek Headquarters is one of our networks that we air our show. If you could be so kind, why don't you start telling people in Awesome Geek Headquarters to go to your LCS and tell them to Let's Get Denver. Start pre-ordering this book now. Get it into the LCS. Get them into the shops. And yeah, August 26th is not that far away, believe it or not.
No, it's my birthday's in August, so that's like a good month for me.
Oh,
Oh, maybe
nice.
that's yeah, maybe that's why they did it.
Yeah, maybe that's it for my birthday. They did it.
Yeah, yeah,
Mine's on the 14th, but it's a week and a half later. It's okay. As my wife says, it's my birthday month. So
maybe.
There you go.
yeah.
All right, so Jimmy, you had Justin Gray, you had Pierre, you had Bill working on the book, covers by Amanda, Pierre, Uko, and Dave Johnson. This book sat in your place for 20 years, you said 10 years?
10 years. In that wall behind me. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, how did the team react when you said, okay, we're bringing this back, Mad Cave's going to go, and we're going to add more to it? What
Yeah.
did they think?
Well, Pierre, it's more work, right? So he's the guy that probably benefits the most because I pay him whatever he wants, and you know. But no, I mean, again, I said it earlier. We exist. We want people. Our job is to create, and we hope that people read it. I mean, we don't have very complicated jobs when we create comic. We really just want people to enjoy our books, get their mind off the world for a couple of minutes or a half hour, and dig in and put yourself somewhere else for a while. We're not, we don't have the noble jobs like doctors and nurses and firemen and stuff like that. But to entertain people is a good karma type thing, I think. And you know I wouldn't be pushing it hard if I didn't think it was very entertaining and if I didn't think it was good. Um, but when you work with a crew like Justin and Pierre and everybody, they're just happy that a new group of people are going to finally discover this. Because when we do the Kickstarters, it's like hanging out with 1,000 of your best friends. Like they're going to buy everything you do and read it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. I mean, one day I'd like to get the Kickstarters up, the people up, backing them up, the numbers up. But when you put something out mainstream and it's going to be in comic shops, of course you're going to get a new audience to look at it. And being in the business as long as I have, and I've been in the business since 91 or 90, you have to keep reintroducing yourself all the time to new readers because we have generations coming in the store now that look, there's a whole generation that like learned who I was when I did Marvel Knights or when I did Ash back then or Painkiller Jane. There's another generation that just started reading Harley Quinn when Amanda and I did it. So we're the Harley Quinn people to them. Some people I'm the Marvel Knights guy. Some people I'm the Jonah Hex guy. So it's like all the time, all the time. And then right now I have between this and I have the Deadly Tales of Gunslinger with Todd. That's my steady. You have to keep reinventing and reintroducing yourself to the audience. And sometimes we get to hang with the audience for many years, meaning they get older and they still buy comics. But we do lose a lot of them along the way because they have more important things or they have, families and stuff like that. And my thing is always you have to kind of reintroduce yourself to an audience all the time. Hey, Bill. And, so it's important to have new stuff out. And I'm all about new ideas. I mean, it's great. Everybody enjoys Batman and Spider-Man and all that shit. But realistically, I'm an adult. I like a little TNA in my books. I like a little violence. I like my shit a little dirty and a little heavy metal. And to get that, I have to sometimes put it out myself.
Oh
Okay.
man, go
Nice.
ahead. What are you gonna say,
No,
little
that's
one?
you saying that's nice. Yeah, you got to cater to like those people too.
Yeah, we all like to think about how we appear to the world, but realistically, we're all just wild animals. And a lot of
Yeah.
times we just want what we want when we want it. And with entertainment, you have to, there's a reason. There's blockbusters in the movie theaters, but there's another reason why cable gets some really crazy shit movies out that are not big hits, but there's an audience for them. And I just think
Mhm.
with comics, we got people who love superheroes, and that's great. But I like the genre stuff, and I like the stuff a little adult. And I just think, like I said, I don't feel like there's enough of that out there. So I'm filling some kind of void.
Right.
It could be filling the void is probably the title of everything in my life, but definitely, definitely for this, I feel like we need science fiction and sexy stuff and wild stuff, and I think Denver delivers it and totally delivers it.
Heck
Hence
yeah.
hence the title of tonight's episode:
Uh,
Adult Material and Violence. Acclaimed writer Jimmy
You
Jimmy
know, I, I,
Conway.
I, I always say that the sex and violence doesn't mean anything unless you really care about the characters. And
Mm,
that is the number one goal is like, always with the main character, what do they want and what do they fear? And if you can kind of get these two things out of a person, you get to know them really quickly.
Mhm.
And if they're being honest about the answer. Not always easy for people to answer both those things. What do they want and what do they fear? Because they have these things where they think they want something, but in reality they may want something that they just don't want to say out loud.
hmm.
And what people fear is very diverse, and it gives us a little insight to the characters. So we try to do that with every character we're writing. We try to define who they are. So part of the comic and part of the entertainment is that everybody sounds differently. Everybody's a different person. And again, with superheroes, I find a lot of the books are written like here's the hero and the hero's always this way, and I find it kind of boring. And I think that's why I find flawed people a lot more interesting than the perfect people. Mahana, how are you, Mahana?
Well, that is how your representation of Jonah Hex was so much different than anybody else's, because you made him this badass of a character, not just a Western
Yeah,
bounty
I,
hunter.
I remember we did the first issue, and a kid got bit, and he had rabies. This small young boy, and I got a call from Dan DiDio, who was the editor in chief at DC at the time, and he calls me. He says, "Listen," he goes, "I just read Jonah Hex 1." He goes, "Seriously, you have him smothering a child in the first issue. What the hell is going on?" And I said, "Well, he has rabies, and back then they didn't have treatment for rabies, so the kid was going to have a horrible and painful death." And Jonah Hex did the empathy. He smothered the kid quickly. And I said, "You can read that book any way you want. You could read it as Jonah being a horrible man, or you could read him as being he has empathy for the kid and doesn't want the kid to talk. You know,
Hmm.
it depends how you want to read it." But I said, but I said, "Dan, but it's true to the character what he
Yeah,
did."
and
And
that's how it was back then.
right, and that's how it. It was a different world than now. And I embrace that when I do stuff, whether it's the future or the past. Embrace the world you're in. Understand the world you're in, and that makes for a better book.
Yeah, no.
Right, right.
Let's talk about
Hold on,
when
wait.
you. Oh,
Mahana. Doing well, thanks. Great to be able to catch the show. Thank you for catching the show.
yeah. Thank you for being here. I don't think I ever asked you this because usually we're laughing or because you usually have somebody with you and we're cracking jokes. Even when we shared a stage in Colorado Springs a
That
year
was
back.
fun. That was
Yes.
fun.
Um, when you're writing, do you take and you're designing a character? Because that's what writers do. You design a character.
Sure.
Do you choose an influence to design a character from, or do you take a little bit of you? Do you take a little bit of Amanda? Do you take a little bit of Buddy down the street or Charlie over on the corner?
I tend to when I write Painkiller Jane, it's probably the closest to who I am.
Okay.
My wife always says like Jane is you. She's like, she says that character is you. The way she reacts and the way she talks to people is you. But when I do write
I
other
can see
characters,
that.
yeah, when I write other characters though, I tend to, I look at who they are, and sometimes I model them after people I know because I know how they're going to react. Sometimes I have to keep I have all these I have all these little index cards everywhere, all in front of me, of the characters. And as I'm building them, I write personality traits, likes, dislikes, about their family and stuff like that. I try to keep loyal to it. In like Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger, I was handed a character by Todd McFarlane that Todd created, and but he created a modern version of the character, and he said, "I need you to write the gunslinger in the Old West." So I wrote like a 20-page bio of the character's life, his relatives, his mom and dad, how they came over to America, the whole thing. Now, will it ever appear in the book? It might not, but it helps me understand how he would react to something based on how he grew up and how his family treated him. And that kind of stuff makes the character be distinctive and stand out in a different way. Because, again, the issue I have a lot of times with writers is all the characters are their voice. And I don't want to, these are all different people, and you don't have interesting conversation if everybody's the same. The worst nightmare we can all have is hanging out all night with two or three of ourselves, because we probably want to kill ourselves. We love people because of their differences. We love them because we don't know what they're thinking all the time, or the spontaneity of other people is what we're attracted to a lot. What we find attractive in people isn't the same things we have, and it's really important to understand that. Like, I always tell people when I was younger, I always knew how one of my relationships were going to end when they started, because I always knew the thing that I was attracted to is going to be the thing that's going to break us up.
Really?
So, yeah, so think about your older girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever, and you say, well, I really liked her because she was spontaneous and crazy and wild. And then it's like, oh, I can't take it. She's too spontaneous, crazy, and wild. Like, there is a little bit of that. If you think about your past relationships, you think about what attracted you to them at first, is a lot of times is what kind of is the killer later on.
Like it
But
gets to be too much, you mean?
yeah, it gets to be too much, or you think you're going to control it on some level. When you're in a relationship, you're going to be able to neuter it a bit, or move around with it a little bit more, as to say,